there's a global study done in 2012. They looked at the valuation or magkano ba talaga yung services na binibigay sa atin ng ecosystems. In the average reef, meaning that it's a comparison from the west to the east of the world, they found out or they suggested that an hectare of a reef actually gives us an equivalent amount of $350,000 per hectare per year. About that range.
Yeah.
It's the average. But if we go back to the Philippines, the diversity is actually higher. We have 500, 600 species of corals found in the South China Sea, West Philippine Sea, and in the archipelagic Philippines. And there are only about 200 to 300 in the Mediterranean Caribbean. So the value could actually be higher. That's why it was an estimate, a conservative estimate. So the 33 billion was actually inferred. It did not come from us. We gave the possible baseline value of ecosystem services, and then I think the IMLOS, the UP Law Institute, gave the value or the damaged area in the Kalayaan Island group. We don't have our own data to tell on how much area has already been damaged in the West Philippine Sea. So that value actually came from.
But if I can squeeze in one more question,
Yes.
If that is a conservative estimate, would the realistic estimate be double that, triple that, or 50% higher?
That's where the validation comes in. Now we've already set the baseline. Then we need to go there or look back into the data that we have and then ask, could it actually be higher or lower? For example, as a comparison, in the Tubbataha Reefs, when the U.S. Navy got stranded there, and talagang medyo na
minesweeper.
Yeah, that's true. And then talagang medyo na damage yung reef. They actually asked $300 per square meter. And there are around $300 per square meter, and there are around 10,000 square meters per hectare.
Was
so
that
that's
a
around,
reasonable amount?
Well, it was a group of scientists who determined that.
Yeah.
Right. We should not be confusing ecosystem services with the actual value of the reef. The reef is invaluable.
Yeah.
But to help us appreciate the value, people came up with a valuation method. Let's put my monetary unit. It's very helpful when you plan, when you strategize, when you come up with approaches to manage the reefs. Because may sa atin kasi pag hindi natin nalalaman kung magkano mahirap,
And it
hindi
makes it
natin
more,
na-appreciate
more tangible.
Yeah, it makes it really more tangible. And also it helps managers, environmental managers. If we know that this area is giving us more or we're getting more from it, then probably in terms of managing and then putting in resources, we can focus on that kasi yun yung mas malaking gain natin.
Siguro give us an idea of what it was like about 20, 30 years ago and what has been happening over the past 15 years.
Okay.
15 years.
So in science, what we do is we do monitoring. So when we do monitoring, we dive and then
We do have capability to monitor, and
we
we
have
have been
capability and
monitoring.
we've been doing that.
We have been
But,
monitoring for how long?
MSI has been doing research in the Kalayaan Island group for the past 25 years.
That's the Marine Science
That's the
Institute
Marine
of
Science
UP.
Institute.
Okay.
However, it wasn't really year by year kasi papasok na dyan yung problema natin in terms of ocean research. MSI just got its own vessel this year after 47 years.
Wow.
We now
I
have
should
one.
say ship.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. It's a research vessel.
A
It's
research vessel.
It's a 28
Okay.
meter research
Owned
vessel.
by UP.
Owned by UP, by UP
Okay.
MSI. So
Okay.
it was the one who we actually used to go to Kalayaan last April and May. 47 years, right? Pero papasok kasi yung capacity natin. And then, but we also need to acknowledge that the other government agencies had been helping us in the past. We've been working with DNR. BFAR has been very generous to us in lending us their assets. PCG, the Philippine Coast Guard, had been doing that. Pero yun nga, papasok kasi din yung kakulangan at limitasyon din talaga in terms of resources.
So what have you found out over
In the past 25 years, so what we do is yung meron tayong indicators. Coral cover, for example. Ibig sabihin, when you dive and you have a transect, how much of the area is actually covered. We look at percentages. I've been reading report from the 1980s, 1990s, and then 2017. Comparison, for example, in 1993 and 2017, the cover for some of the areas were very good, meaning 100%, and then it dropped to 25%.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's really a lot.
Drop to 25%.
Yes,
Sobrang
covered
bilis nun, ah.
in some of the sites. So these are the areas that we
It's
go back
three-quarters
to every.
lost.
Yeah.
Yes. So
In 25 years.
in 25 years, that's really a lot. It's very significant. It wasn't just data from the UP Marine Science Institute. The West Philippine University, for example, has also been doing research in the area. And they reported in 2009, I think that around most of the stations that they visited, the cover area was just like 40%.
This is
You've
this is
lost
nationwide.
40%. No, this is the West Philippine
West
Sea,
Philippine
the
Sea
Kalayaan
only.
Island Group. Yeah.
Okay.
When I say West Philippine Sea, at least the Kalayaan Island Group,
Yeah.
the shoals, the reefs in the Kalayaan Group, Sabina
Yeah.
Shoal, Patag, Lawak,
I have to
Pag-asa,
And our
This,
exclusive economic zone.
which is
That's the West Philippine
yes,
Sea.
not the entire.
So
Okay.
who's doing this?
The what?
I mean, you're losing what?
Yeah,
60
yeah.
percentage points of
So-
your...
so
Not
that-
just the Chinese.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's where the scientific method
Okay.
comes in, right?
Okay.
When you try to assess what happened in the area, what were the changes, you need to figure out what are the possible contributors.
Yes.
Okay.
So, andyan yung
Number one.
Number
What
one.
is number one?
There is also natural
Okay.
events, right?
Yep.
Typhoons could damage reefs. But there are indications, for example, that when we went there last May, that there are really direct human activities. Blast fishing, dynamite fishing, cyanide fishing, probably muro-ami. Some of the reefs, they're not just damaged Talagang
Ginanon.
durog talaga sila. So that's a muro-ami method. And probably also the, yung malalaking angkla. So
Yep.
hihila yun. They die. So there are indications that there are human activities, but to answer the question who's doing it, that's something we don't know because we were not there when it was done.
Careful
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
So
Right?
fishing, ano pa? Pollution.
Yeah, pollution. When we went there, basura, plastics. It's something that we have not talked about before. This year, we went to this very small island called near Patag. It was just a 200-meter sandbar. Pero we were able to, our students collected around 6 crates of trash.
6 crates.
6 crates.
This is near Palawan or is
It's
it
near
close?
Kalayaan already.
Near
And
Kalayaan.
to give you an idea, it's around 2 to 3 days of travel from Puerto Princesa. So it's really far away. It's in
By
the
your
middle
boat?
of the West Philippine Sea by using our
Yeah.
ship. Yeah, together with the Coast Guard BFAR ship too. Yeah. So those are some of the new and emerging threats that we have now in the West Philippine Sea. Hindi pa natin napag-uusapan dyan yung climate change.
Yeah, what about warming? I was going to ask that.
Yeah, there are predictions, there are models saying that the increase in temperature will be very drastic in the West Philippine Sea. That could damage the reefs because they don't like warm temperature.
Is it
could result
rising?
to-
Is the are you monitoring the temperature?
we're looking at that, pero we haven't really dig deep enough to suggest that it is really due to it's significantly increasing.
No significant increase in the temperature.
We haven't really looked deeper into that. Pero that's one thing the project that is ongoing right now, ito yung objective niya. The project this year was called Protect WPS. It's predicting responses between
Predicting.
ocean transport and ecological connectivity. So, paano ba naapektuhan yung populations, yung connectivity ng ecosystems in the West Philippine Sea and the Philippines, archipelagic Philippines, with the changing ocean conditions?